Good morning and welcome to my studio. Today I'm going to start work on a flat-backed Santa faced ornament. I'll be posting pictures along the side here of some previous pieces that I have made. The one that I'm going to do today will be a little bit larger than I normally make, but that is because I want to make sure you'll be able to see it. So one of the first things that we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to make a aluminum foil backing for the ornament. And the reason I do that is because I have a lot of acrylic eyes, and they're really not good for polymer clay unless you do what I'm doing. What you can do is pull the foil backing off of the face, and then you pull the eyes out. Bake the piece. When it's done baking, you reinsert the eyes. Okay, so let's get started. Now typically your face is going to be 5 times the width of your eyes. So you definitely want to have the eyes present. This is a 16 millimeter eye. So what we're going to be looking at is a face that is 5 times this width. So it's going to be a pretty good size head, probably about 2.5 inches. Okay, so you're going to crunch your little sheet of foil up. And I will probably fast forward through certain sections of this just to keep the video from being too terribly long. And you're going to use a stylus, and what you're going to do is you're going to indent the foil like so. Take another sheet of foil, smaller, and cover the whole face loosely and indent again. Hold the first one still and indent the other side. Okay, now this foil will stay attached to the face when you release the rest of the form to get the eyes out. So you want to make sure that this stays loose the way that you see it. And the best thing to do is to tear away the extra foil, because you really don't want to keep coming in contact with it as you're sculpting. Anything metal that is not stainless steel or surgical steel will discolor your clay. Residues from the metal. So you want to keep it roughly like that, and you can see this upper piece. I will be able to pry this other one off, and it'll come off like a little face mask. But for now, I want it to stay put, so that's what we're going to do. You're going to set your eyes in so that they're raised above this surface. Not drastically, but above the surface. Okay. You can put a little bit of clay in the bottom of that well and push the eye into it. This will help with tracking. The only reason to use the clay down here is for tracking. And by that I mean the direction in which the eye is looking. You want to make sure that the eyes are tracking. Imagine you're looking at it and it's looking at you. What you want to do is make sure you're looking at it and it's looking at you. And what you want to do is make sure that both eyes are looking at the same point off in the distance. Just imagine the termination point of this eyeball and the termination point of this eyeball off in the distance. And you want to make sure they're both looking at the same point in the distance. You're going to set it about like that. Okay. And now what we're going to do is start covering this with clay. And normally I would just use one big flat piece of clay to cover it, but because we're insetting these eyes, what I want to do, or what you want to do, is make sure that they're going to release. So you also want to take another piece of foil and you're going to partially cover the eyeball with this foil. Okay, tear it. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is all just part of getting this eye to release from this armature so you can get the acrylic eye back out. Now you can leave it in there if you want to, but it's going to misshape itself. Okay, so here we're going to take this first section of clay. I already conditioned this on my my press. So what we're going to do is set these eyes in place. So I'm going to get the clay between the eyes, and then I'm going to fast forward through this a little bit. You can use all sorts of different things to back these. The back of it's going to be just plain white. You can, well, plain flat. You can take and use a snowflake, or you can use an old lace doily and stiffen it with fabric stiffener. You can use a poinsettia. That's pretty close to where I want to be. Oh, come on, cat. Okay, so now we're going to come back in here a little bit. We're going to throw some more meat in this nose area. Figure out about how big I want the nose to be and pinch off what I want. And I typically go ahead and sort of shape my nose, kind of a teardrop kind of a nose. I'll go ahead and lay that in there. You can see. And then we're going to take and add some more brow. Bring that brow a little higher so the eyes are not so flush on the face. Okay, I didn't center that very well. Try again. There we go. That's pretty good. Alright, and then I'm going to add this is going to be an older gentleman, be a Santa Claus. So I'm going to add some heavy lids in. Turn that, make sure you can see what I'm doing. And that's basically just, you make a little, like a crescent. Imagine if it was a crescent roll. It's a little tapered on this end, tapered on that end. A little fatter in the middle. And you're going to toss it in there like that. And you want to make sure that they're about the same on both sides, thickness-wise. And that's going to lay in above the eye there. Okay, so I noticed that his cheeks are a little bit low. So we're going to want to raise them up a little bit. Come below the eye. So it's facing me. And again, below the eye. The upper lip should have a little more clay there also. So let's throw a little more upper lip in there. The chin will also need a little more size. Okay, so these are basically the shapes. Okay, so I'm just going to seam these pieces together, as you can see. Just smooth one into the other, and not really sculpting the shape yet. Just and make sure your foil doesn't get caught in the face. Just fold it back, because this blade has a point to it. I'm trying to keep it angled so that as I'm seaming things here, I'm not gouging the clay. So I think I'm going to switch to this tool. This one comes from artdolls.com, Jack Johnson's website. And I'm going to continue. Larger surfaces tend to be difficult. Always clean things before you start using it. Larger surfaces tend to be harder to smooth with small tools, because every thing that you do causes another mark in the clay. So if you take a large tool like this, you can see the forehead is smoothing out already. A large tool like this, and roll it. It goes a long way towards getting things nice and smooth and even. So there's my tip for getting large surfaces smoothed pretty quickly. Okay, now general shapes are in place. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to start sculpting the eye. And I usually use a stylus to get in these corners. As you can see, it is the perfect tool for creating that little groove in the corner. And this nose bridge is too tall, so I'm going to press down on it. Okay, seam up, seam down, seam over. Bring this nose down and into the face. Now this is one of the places where you want to be careful that you don't over press the clay, because you don't want to move the eye. Okay. On an older man, the skin on the eye tends to sag around the eyes. So I'm not going to create the look of a smooth upper lid here, where it would, let's see on this face, where the lid would have a nice curve to it, and then it rolls up into the eye. As people get older, the skin starts to sag from the forehead, actually putting downward pressure, the skin around the eyebrow starts to sag towards the eye. So for this, because it's going to be a Santa, I'm only going to expose the inner corner here of the lid. Help if I could see a little better. Okay, the inner corner. Okay, and then you see that. Make sure you can see that. All right. Okay, you can see the lid where I just sculpted, and you've got that saggy skin look going on. And you can continue it across by just tucking underneath ever so slightly, and you can even leave some of that on the outer side there. Now for the lower lid, what you want to do is, well, first seam this and this together and push that skin up, and you can use your stylus and roll it along under the eye. Move that skin up so that it covers the eyelid. Alright, now I don't recommend that you do one eye fully without touching the other eye. That's as far as I'm going to go with that eye. I'm going to go ahead and get this side going also. And the reason for this is symmetry. It's much easier to match this side to that side right now, as opposed to waiting until that side's completely done and then trying to match, because right now I can tell if I have the same amount of clay on both sides. Okay, and I want to uncover. Alright, let me get a look. Make sure my eyes are still tracking. They are. Okay, and again, just the inside corner. I'll bring that down and under, exposing just part of that. Okay, now we're going to push this up. Now I can see that this eye has moved. So what I'm going to do is grab one of my tools. And I'm going to go up underneath of here and through that foil. I'm going to push that eye back in place. That looks better. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing I did on the other side. I'm going to bring the clay up to the eyelid, smooth it in. Okay, nice full cheek. Don't want this too thick. Alright, getting closer. And lots of smoothing to do for sure. That's too big. Let's use the smaller one. There we go. Alright. And this eye is uncovered more than that eye. The other thing you want to look at is your general lines. This is my eye line here. And if my eye line is straight, then the rest of the face should be as well. But you do want to make sure that your eye line is straight. You also want to make sure that both eyes are uncovered in the same, or in at least a similar way. Believe it or not, this clay will not hurt this eye. I thought they would. It won't hurt it. What will hurt is the heat. The heat will ruin them. They bow and they buckle, they cloud. I've even had them crack in my attempt to utilize these acrylic eyes. I've tried wet cotton balls. I've tried all sorts of homemade remedies to try to accomplish my goal of using them since I have them, but none of that has worked. So they sit in a drawer unused. Okay, let's move that up. Alright. Again, this is going to be a Santa Claus, so he's going to have fur covering a lot of this. Alright. And that's, again, a saggy bit of material there. This is a tool that I got from, I believe, More on eBay. I'll put a link to that below. And this is another one that I like because of the curve. It's nice to get that little curved line above the brow to go above that heavier eyelid. And I'm going to cut in again at a little bit different angle. Okay, now you can also use it in these areas to smooth and round up into the nose. Now, you can do a nose a number of different ways. You can add 2 little balls to either side to be the nostrils, or you can actually dig your tool up into the nostril and pull it out, in which case you get a really thin, natural looking nostril. But given that these ornaments are probably going to get tossed into a box for storage for the season, the off season, I'm going to recommend that you just add 2 little balls. I'm going to take this and elongate it, and I'm going to cut and cut, and I'm going to add them to the side there, drop them in. I like big noses on my Santa Clauses. Okay. I need to keep that tear duct down in there. Alright. And go back to my scalpel. And I will fast forward through a lot of this. Okay, and finish seaming this nose down in here. Alright, so what we're going to do, I want this to be a smiling Santa. Now if you wanted to do an elf or a character like that, we're pretty elfy right at the moment. We've got a general egg shape going on with the head. If you want to do an elf at this point, you're just going to go ahead and you're going to bring that brow thickness down and move it up the way you would for a younger face. And you'll finish the other details without adding any wrinkles. but the same basic steps that got us to this point would be what you would use for an elf face. I will be doing a video on an elf face as well. Okay, so another thing you want to do is while you're sculpting, try to keep things smooth as you go along. Some people say it's not necessary, but it's how I do it. Okay, so what you want to do, we want the cheeks to be a little more full. You want to create that that fold around the outside edge of the mouth, and it runs above the nose and comes down and around. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put pressure with my thumbs on both sides here, press down and up. And you see it's sliding away from me. Down and up. And what that does is it creates this this curve here, the dental curve to the face, and it puts the cheeks up and where I want them for a smiling expression. And you can see. Now again, you want to keep checking your eyes, because anytime you shift clay around, you can dislodge them and have them not looking where you want. Okay, so now we have the cheeks in a more of a smile. Okay, so now we have our little cheeks pushed up, and I added in a little bit of extra detail, and it should be soft. You can use a brush, paintbrush, something with soft bristles. Oh, a little tip. I'm going to actually go clean these real quick. When your brushes get really gummy and you start having actual debris visible on the bristles, if you take Dawn dish detergent, the same thing they clean oil off of animals after an oil spill, and clean your brushes with it, it gets them perfectly clean, gets rid of all that gunk, and they're ready to go again. So I'm going to go back and clean my brushes. I'll be right back. And just like magic, perfectly clean and ready to go. Okay, so again, to soften that line, you can use the brush and just go in and bring it up and around it around the nose. Okay, and get that bridge of the nose away in case I don't need any more. Soften the bridge of the nose into the face. And I've mentioned this before. When you're sculpting, you want to keep turning it around and have it face away from you. You want to make sure you're looking at it from different angles, because if you only look at it from the same direction all the time, you're going to miss any time that you're not symmetrical. Turning it around, looking at it from the other direction, looking down the face, you'll see if one cheek sticks out farther than the other, if one eyeball sticks out further than the other. If your chin is not lined up centered, you'll be able to see those variables. Tilt that so you can see what I mean. You look at the face from above, you can see if one cheek is wider than the other and fix it while you have time to do so. Okay, so I'm going to smooth under here, bring that down into there, and now I'm going to, well, no, I'm not going to do that yet. This upper lip here is not quite as symmetrical as I would like, so in creating the upper lip here, which I'm going to push against, push it back, I'm going to help to reshape this area here where it comes from the nose. And it should have an arch to it because your teeth are not flat. So that's, and again, you want to smooth, especially areas like this where it's harder to get to once you get them. And you have this indentation above the lip, which you can use a stylus to create. And the size of it is up to you, but it's typically on the wide side on my dolls. So there's that. And then you can take the stylus and come just to this side of it and push up, and then come to the opposite side of it and push up, and that creates that divot above the lip. It's not really a divot, but, and then blend. Your brush is going across the whole lip, above and below, and blend towards the middle. Do the same on the other side. Shape the inside bottom of that lip like so. Okay. Make sure you don't have any little random air bubbles. Okay, now this sand is going to smile, so I'm going to extend the corner of the mouth at an angle. Extend the corner of the mouth at an angle. I'm going to go back to my brush, and I'm going to extend the lip. Okay. Alright, and now we're going to look at the chin. Okay, and what I do, I'm going to establish the chin and the bottom lip in one move. This is the tool again that I picked up from Moores & More. I'm going to lay it along the cheek here, just below the bottom lip, and I'm going to push in slightly and rotate and rock it. And when I do, the bottom lip and the chin form themselves. Okay. Now, the bottom lip should be, so its profile should be below, literally underneath of the upper lip. The upper lip should come out more than the bottom lip, especially when they're smiling. So we've got some creases here from where I laid that clay over the first layer of clay. I'm going to try to get rid of them real quick. Alright, my smile is a little asymmetrical, but again, for a character face, that's not the end of the world. All adds to his personality. And again, we're at this elfy phase, and that's not a bad thing. If you wanted to make this an elf, you put his little Santa hat on, his little elfy hat on, and that's not, there's not much more you'd have to do other than smoothing and making the nostrils. So here's our smile forming up, and I want to get this lip. Men typically don't have very full lips, so we can keep moving this clay around. Don't have to add just yet. Alright, shape's looking good. A little more full on that side than the other side.